Hello friends, I am Amarnath, Faculty Public Administration, Sharat Chandra IAS Academy. So in this session, I am going to explain about Public Administration Optional, why we should choose this Public Administration, what are the merits and difficulties in Public Administration. So most of us has a big dilemma whether Public Administration is a safe optional or not. Alright, so this is a common thing or common question that every UPSC aspirant has, though they want to take public administration, but because of the ongoing trends in UPSC mains exam, particularly in the awarding of marks, so most of the people may hesitate, and not may, but people are hesitate in taking public administration as an optional. So I'll try to break the myth of this optional, right? So why we should choose public administration? What are the merits? What is the basic advantage of choosing public administration as an optional? Right? So first of all, the amount of marks that we are going to cover in the entire UPSC mains exam. So it is not just the optional, but the entire UPSC. So ultimately, anyone who is writing mains, they think about the marks. The amount of marks that are covered through public administration. Alright. So here, obviously, the optional has a weightage of 500 marks. The optional has a weightage of 500 marks. Coming to GS paper 1, that is, we have the topics like history, geography and the Indian society. Alright. So in GS paper 1, we have the topic of Indian society, right, where we can expect around 30 marks. The contribution of public administration in GS paper 1, it is around 30 marks, plus or minus 10. So average it is 30 marks. Coming to GS paper 2, that is polity, governance and international relations, right? So the entire out of 250 marks, right, nearly around 150 to 180 marks they are from public administration, or the public administration as an optional can contribute to nearly 150 to 180 marks. That is, just by the knowledge of public administration, you can answer around 150 to 180 marks in GS paper 2. Coming to GS paper 3, that is economy, internal security, disaster management and environment ecology. So in this entire section, in this entire paper, again the knowledge of public administration will help us to score around 120 to 150 marks. Around 120 to 150 marks, including economy, because the even 30 to 40% of economy part is covered in public administration. Internal security itself is a separate chapter in public administration. Disaster management itself is a separate topic in public administration. Alright. So we have these topics. We have these topics in the syllabus of public administration. Alright. So that is the reason why the contribution of public administration towards GS paper 3 is around 120 to 150 marks. Now coming to GS paper 4. Alright. It is an ethics paper. Again, 50 to 60% of ethics paper is from public administration. Alright. The knowledge of public administration will help us to cover around 50 to 60% of ethics paper. That means you can cover around 120 marks. Around 120 marks in ethics paper. 120 to 130 marks. Alright. And essay paper. We should not forget this essay paper. Alright. You can easily write at least one essay by the knowledge of public administration. So out of 250 again, the knowledge of public administration will contribute to around 120 marks. So this is what about right, the contribution of public administration in GS papers. That is, if we take public administration as an optional, so this is the contribution towards other GS papers. Ultimately, right, we want to save our energy and time. UPSC is all about the strategy and the time management in our preparation, right? So public administration is one such optional where we can save our time, energy and efforts in our preparation. So as such, 500 marks here, 530. So averagely around, right, around, so here it is 12 3 is 360 plus 150. It is 510 plus 500, 1010, right? It is almost all 1050 marks, in and around, average of 1050 marks can be covered just by the knowledge of public administration. This is the first importance of public administration. So we can cover around 1000 to 1100 marks. So even if we can score 50% of this, even if you can score 50% of this, we will be near to interview. That is averagely, right? So I may be exaggerating, but just by having the knowledge of public administration, you can score around 500 to 600 marks. And the rest, 150 marks, that is required for interview, alright, from the other sections, the other left out sections. So this is the advantage. So if we take public administration, right, definitely we will be saving our time and energy so that we can even cover the other areas of general studies. This is the first advantage. Second advantage, right, the amount of syllabus, right, in public administration, right. As such, in paper 1, we have 12 topics. In paper 2, we have 14 topics. Paper 1 has 12 topics and paper 2 has 14 topics. And within this paper 1 and paper 2, there are 6 such chapters. There are 6 chapters which are common to both paper 1 and paper 2. That means out of 26, right, we can remove, or we can simply remove 3 to 4 chapters. So out of 26, hardly we need to cover 20 to 22 chapters, right? So we need to cover around 20 chapters. So that means out of all the UPSC optionals, public administration has the least amount of syllabus. In terms of syllabus, it is very less, right? And the entire GS paper 2 of public administration, out of 14 topics in GS paper 2, right, 8 chapters, 8 topics are from our Indian polity. So whatever we read in Indian polity, they are directly helpful in in public admin paper 2. We have the topics of preamble, the making of constitution, fundamental rights, GPSP, the union government, the state government, the local governments, right, the judiciary. So these are the topics which are present in what you call paper 2. Apart from administrative ethics, disaster management. Alright, so public administration paper 2 contains, alright, 80% of polity. So whatever we read in polity, they are directly helpful in paper 2. The difference between the PubAd paper 2 and GS paper 2 is, in PubAd paper 2, we see a mix of polity, paper 1 public administration, and the what you call the contemporary issues that are going in the nation, right? So it is, we should use the knowledge of paper 1, the current affairs, as well as the basic polity. In general studies, we are not going to use any theoretical part of public administration. In polity, it is plainly about the Indian constitution. But here in paper 2 public administration, we are going to bring in both the knowledge of paper 1 as well as the current orientation, right? That is the difference between the public administration paper 2 and general studies, right? But rest of things, it is almost all same, right? And the same books we need to refer. The same Lakshmikant for paper 2. Apart from Lakshmikant, apart from Indian Polity Lakshmikant, right, we read another 1 or 2 books, right? So that is what the other advantage, right? So the amount of syllabus is very less in public administration, right? Next, alright, this is one thing, right? Next one, the difficultiness of public administration. So whether public administration is really difficult, right? Obviously, one can score marks only when they are strong in presentation, right? So the area of presentation or the difficultiness in public administration in presenting the answers, right? So let me talk about this point, right? Out of all these 26 chapters, as I said, both in paper 1 and paper 2, there are only 3 chapters which a newcomer find it difficult. For a fresher, the one who is starting UPSC optional, the one who is taking public administration, they find only 3 chapters as difficult. Once they get a grip on these 3 chapters, I'm sure that you can score 300 plus marks. Personally, I have scored 376 in public administration. And for 3 times, I have scored more than 340 in public administration. Alright? And my experience, my knowledge in public administration, so I am a BTech graduate, but still, right from my first attempt, I was scoring around 300 plus marks. Right? The reason is the interest that we get, right? And the the answer presentation. So I'm sure that for any newcomer, even when we have started my preparation, right, it was the first 3 chapters which I found it difficult, but rest of the things, they are very easy to understand. They are very good and easy. We can easily comprehend. We can easily understand, right? So even an average student, a non-art student, a BTech student, right? So they can easily understand public administration. And we are would-be administrators. And knowledge of public administration is very essential for the administrators, right? So out of all the entire syllabus, only 3 chapters are, only 3 topics or 3 chapters, right, which will find it difficult. But once we are good with this 3 chapters, or once we get familiarity with these 3 chapters, I'm sure, I challenge that the entire public administration will be easy to understand. So it is easy to understand, right? Difficultiness lies, the difficulty levels or the difficultiness lies only in these first 3 chapters. But once we overcome these 3 chapters, once we cover these 3 chapters, right, and if you can spare patience and time on these 3 chapters, rest of public administration will be very easy, right? This is one thing, right? And the second element in the difficulty is presentation. So why people are not getting marks? Why it is difficult to get marks in public administration? So most of the people have this kind of misconception. So people feel that it is very tough to get marks in public administration, alright? So there are I'll explain a few elements in this. Getting marks in public administration depends upon 2 things. One is the nature of questions asked. The nature of questions asked. Second one is way of presenting the answer. Way of presentation. Right? No doubt, from 2011, almost from 2010 itself, from 9-10 itself, right? The level of difficulty in UPSC papers, the level of difficulty, right, in the questions of public administration was very high. So from 2009 onwards, the difficulty levels got increased, and by 2013-14, this difficulty levels got increased. So it went to a peak level. even a senior candidate, even those who have attempted public administration earlier, right, even after writing 3 to 4 mains, right, the candidates felt difficult in writing the answers. That was the level of difficulty in questions asked. It is natural trend. It is very natural in UPSC. Right? So UPSC will always, right, makes the question paper very dynamic. So the question trends, the difficult levels increases to a certain extent for certain years, and after that again the difficult levels will come down, and again it will go up. So it is a cyclic process. You take any kind of optional, it is cyclic process. No, no optional will be encouraged continuously by UPSC. This is for sure. Right? The only way of controlling students or candidates in UPSC is by asking by varying the difficulty levels of questions. So from 2009 till 2017, right, the difficulty levels were high, right? The difficulty levels were high in public administration, right? But from 2017 till date, right, the level of difficulty has come down, right? Questions were more simple when compared to the previous one. They are straightforward, and we have seen the result also. So one of our students who got 311 rank has scored very good marks in public administration. Alright, so it is nowadays, that is in the last 4 to 5 years, the level of difficulty in public administration is coming down. Right? So that means what? UPSC wants the candidates even to opt public administration. So this is an indication. It is an indication by from the side of UPSC. Alright? So I've seen the marks even last year and this year. So marks of my students who are scoring 280, 290, 300. There are students who scored marks between 280 to 300 very comfortably. Right? So this is an indication for every aspirant to go for public administration. That is, public administration is now one of the safest optional in terms of difficulty levels. Right? So this is one thing. Second thing is the way in which the answers are presented. Right? So what made public administration more difficult is, one is the nature of questions asked between 2009 to 2017, and when questions are tough, obviously it will be difficult for a candidate to answer these questions. We'll get confused. We don't know where to start our answer. We don't know where to end our answer. What should be the flow of the answer? So it is normally a mind game. Normally a mind game of UPSC. Right? So answer presentation. Application of paper 1 in paper 2. Application of theory part. Interdisciplinary application. Any candidate who lacks this kind of application will not fare well in UPSC. So, the answer organization, the application of the subject, the interdisciplinary application of the subject, using of theories, right, using of popular views, right, using of the current trends, the committees, the recommendations of different commissions, the Supreme Court judgments, where to use these kind of reports. So when we are not aware about this kind of application, it is difficult to get marks. Right? So answer organization, application of theory, application of paper 1 in paper 2. Unless we have this kind of application of paper 1 in paper 2, it is difficult to get marks in paper 2. Getting marks in paper 1 is easy, but getting marks in paper 2 is difficult. The reason is paper 2 is of totally factual, dry, and it is very tough to get the attention of the evaluator. So unless you apply your paper 1 knowledge, the knowledge of paper 1 in paper 2, it is difficult to get the marks. So these these factors will determine the marks levels in public administration. So we need to focus on these areas. So these are the difficult areas of public administration. Once you overcome these difficult areas, definitely, for sure, we can score a very good marks in public administration. So public administration, right, it is one of the safest option in UPSC. So don't hesitate to take public administration. If you are interested in public administration, just go to it blindly. Right? So the institution will help you in all your endeavors. Right? So we are going to have a daily test. We are going to have a weekly test. There will be a one-to-one feedback. Right? A special care will be taken on each and every student. But remember, right? The effort should come from the side of students. When the aspirants, when the candidate starts working, then it will be very interesting for even to the faculty to show the interest. Right? It is not a one-way work. Both the faculty and the aspirants. Right? When we together go, then it will be easy for us to score marks. Alright? So if you have interest in taking public administration, so just blindly go with your interest. Right? Don't think about any other factors. Don't be in a myth that public administration is not faring well. In last 3 to 4 years, the marks of public administration has gone up. Before 2017, the average mark in public administration is around 200 to 210. But now, the average mark in public administration is around 250 to 270. That is, there is a jump of 50 to 60 marks. Right? So, an average, that is even a first attempter with sincere preparation, we can score around 250 to 260 marks. And any additional efforts, it may increase to 280 to 300. Remember, right? In our hands, we have 300 marks. 300 to 320. It is within our hands. Anything above 320, it is obviously a luck. Alright? So, it is out of my personal experience. Alright? So, this is what about public administration. So, do join our foundation course, which is going to start from 15th of June. And if you have any queries, please do ask in the comment box.